it's the big elephant in the room, and that is what everybody's talking about is will the church take the mark of the beast? When my brother goes out to preach, that's what people are asking in churches. When my other brother does music, he's in Louisiana right now. The question is, are we going to take the mark of the beast? So that's what this Bible study is about. I just thought it would help people with their, there's a lot of anxiety and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to give you 5 or 6 reasons why we will not take the mark of the beast. I was away from Hawaii, and they followed the radio, led them to Pearl Harbor. So much fear in Hawaii. It created gossip and theories and all those kind of things. And the gossip and the theories was that invading Hawaii, the army was, and they were cutting people's heads off. And there's a lot of fear out there, and gossip and speculations and theories. But let me just tell you, the Bible has only one interpretation. I'll give you a scripture. 2 Peter 1, verse 20 and verse 21. 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 20 and 21. There's only one interpretation of all this. There's no speculations and all those kind of things. So just as Japan, the Japanese planes were following those radio signals, the Hawaiian music that got them closer to Pearl Harbor, there are signals that Jesus is coming back. And I was just thinking about some of them. We have weapons of mass destruction. There's a global economy now. There's crisis in the Middle East. Israel's back in the land, 1948. And we are going cashless. There's Sweden is just about cashless right now. So there's all this anxiety in the churches. And so are we going to take the mark of the beast? But here's the thing is, by the time we get to Revelations 13, that's the mark of the beast chapter, Revelations 13, the world will completely look different than it is right now. It's just going to be a completely different landscape. Everything. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Everything that happens between Revelations chapter 6, when the tribulation starts, to Revelations 13 has to happen first. So before the mark of the beast even comes, if you read Revelation 6 and start taking notes all the way to the mark of the beast chapter, you will see that all kinds of stuff's going to happen before there's even a mark of the beast. So, it starts out like this in Revelation 6. This just shows you this has to happen first. It says, the Lamb opened one of the seals, and then you'll see where he opens a second seal and a third seal. And I'll tell you what a seal is. In the old days, it was an old scroll, and they would scroll down, and then they would take a seal off, and then they would scroll some more, and it would reveal more and more. And that's how the whole thing reveals itself, what's going to happen in the tribulation, chapter 6, chapter 7, chapter 8, in that order. All those things has to happen before you get to chapter 13, the mark of the beast. And so before it could come out. So I'm just going to give you some things. If you want to take notes on this, or if you just want to listen and go back over the tape, all of these things has to happen before we even come close to the mark of the beast. Number one is the mark of the beast is connected to mass destruction, complete slaughter and ruin. Revelations chapter 6 has to happen first. And Revelations chapter 6, 25% of the world population has to die. That is about 2 billion people would have to be wiped out before we even get close to the mark of the beast. That's never happened in history. In fact, 2 billion people would mean all of South America, all of North America, and then you would have to add India. India is about 1.3 billion people. Just pretend all of those people, there's nobody in South America, North America, and India. It's completely gone. That's the picture, even before we start to get to the mark of the beast. So, Revelations 6 and verse 8, Revelations chapter 6 and verse 8 says 25% of the world's population is going to be wiped out right off the bat. The wars, the famines, the plagues, the earthquakes will be, here's another mark of distinction. It will be completely global. All the wars, the famines, the plagues, it's not going to just be in one spot. You know how sometimes the earthquakes just, it's in Alaska or something like that. They're going to be everywhere. Everything's going to be global. That's another mark of what's going to happen before we even get to the mark of the beast. So, I mean, Ireland had a famine in 1845. 1.5 billion people, 1.5 million people died. India had a famine in 1630. 2 million people died. Ethiopia had a famine in 1972. 60,000 people died. I bet you a lot of church people were thinking we're in the tribulation. But the Black Plague wiped out half of Europe in 1336, something like that. And China had an earthquake that killed 830,000 people in 1556. And all of those things happened in decades, all of that stuff, but that wasn't the tribulation. There's not going to be anything like it, what's going to happen when the tribulation starts. Matthew 24 and 21 says that. Matthew 24 and 21, just in essence, it says this. It says, the earth has never seen what's going to happen in the 7-year tribulation. It hasn't happened from the beginning until even all the way to now. It has never seen anything like it. And just a couple scriptures to show you that it's going to be global. That's another mark that has to happen before there's even a mark of the beast. Revelation 6 and 4, it will be all nations, the whole world, and the heavens departed. Watch this. Revelation 6 and 14. Revelation 6 and 14, it says, and the heavens departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. And here's the key word, every mountain, that's global, every mountain and island were moved out of its place. It's not going to just be a famine in Ethiopia or earthquake in Alaska. The earthquakes are different than they are right now, completely different. There's always been earthquakes, we know that. But the earthquakes that are in the tribulation, here's the big difference. Not only are they global, but it includes the heavens, it includes the stars, it includes the sun and the moon. They start turning different colors. The earthquakes are going to be cosmic. And so that's different than any time in history. The heavens split. Watch what it says. And the stars fall on the earth like figs fall from a tree to the ground. That's how fast those stars are going to just be hitting the earth, like figs that come off of a tree. All of this takes place before the mark of the beast. That's why we could all just relax with all this. That's just in chapter 6 when it starts to happen. Then you get to chapter 8, and all this has to happen before the mark of the beast. 1/3 of the sea is poison. That's not happening right now. 1/3 of the plant life is gone. That's going to create famines because animals can't eat. And then we can't have, Big Macs and stuff. Chapter 11, the 2 prophets they have power over the rain and the water in chapter 11. All of that stuff has not happened. It has to happen before the mark of the beast. And then after that, after all of the stuff that I just said, then the Antichrist will require a mark, a 666 mark, all of that stuff, global destruction, earthquakes that includes the heavens, billions of people that dies, all of that is part of the landscape of the mark of the beast. So that's point number one. So I hope everybody's just convinced already right there. But I'm going to give you another one. The mark of the beast is connected to a global ID. And, when Social Security came out in the 1930s, the church thought that was, they thought that was the mark of the beast. The problem with that is that's a national ID. The mark of the beast is connected to it's going to be a global thing. They thought credit cards was the mark of the beast. They thought in the first century, they thought Nero, that they put his image on all the pottery and the things in the stores, and they thought Nero was the Antichrist, the first century church. So all of these things are not the mark of the beast. It's just they're national IDs. And so people are wondering if we are going to accidentally take the mark of the beast. And let me just talk about the mark of the beast, this global ID, just for a minute. And in all of my research, there's a lot of guesswork about what really is the mark of the beast. But just real quick, I'll just tell you what some of the stuff. Revelations 13 and 17, Revelations 13 and 17, the mark of the beast or the name of the beast or the number of the beast. So there's three things: a mark, a name, and a number, all in verse 17. A mark means it could be something like a tattoo, a mark, or it leaves a cut in the skin. That could be from a tattoo, or it could be something that's inserted in there. Everybody's guessing on that. So there's a mark, there's a name, and a name of the beast could be some people say it's the numbers of his name. They have to add up the 666. And that's why some people, they thought Ronald Reagan was the Antichrist, because his name is Ronald is 6, Wilson is 6, and Ronald Reagan, Wilson Reagan, all 666. But of course, he wasn't the Antichrist. Then some people thought it was Nero but the problem with that is they would have to change his name. It doesn't add up to 666. So you could see what the mark, the number, and all those kind of things are. But and all of this has to happen before we get to the tribulation. And here's the thing: is the people in the tribulation, they will know who the Antichrist is. It's not going to be a sneak thing. They will know it's a mark of the beast. It will not be accidentally. People will know who he is. Let me give you a scripture for that. This is for the people that are living in those days, in the tribulation. Put down 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8. It says, and that contextually, that's talking about the tribulation, the 7-year period. That's talking about the tribulation. And it says that the Antichrist will be revealed. So the people that's living in there, they'll know who he is. As long as the church is here, we won't know who he is. So cashless means everyone has an account number, and every grocery store, every bank has the same account number, and it's a worldwide number. And with computers and technology, it would be easy. It would be easy with all of our technology for a one world man to rule everything. It's a lot easier now. And so as we become more and more dependent on technology, it would be easier for an Antichrist to step forward. So number one, this is point number one, why we won't accidentally take the mark of the beast, is chapter 6, Revelation 6, all the way to 13 has to happen. Mass destruction. Then there's going to be a global ID. It's not going to be a national ID. Number 3, here's the third one. The mark of the beast is connected to worship. I think this might be the most convincing for me anyway. The mark of the beast is going to be connected to worship. Taking the mark of the beast will not be by accident. They will not sneak, let's say, a flu shot into people. People will pledge their allegiance to the beast while they're taking the mark of the beast. It will be connected to this worship. It will be tied to worship. Revelations 13 and 12 shows this. Revelations 13 and 12, watch what it says. And he causeth the earth, see, it's global, the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the beast and take the mark of the beast. They're going to be completely worshiping this one man. That's another distinction. It's going to be this one man. That's not even coming close right now. So what happens is in Revelation 13, they take sides with the beast. The people know what it's about. It's not a sneak thing. It's a mark of loyalty. It's a mark of devotion. It's a mark of worship. And they're taking it while they're worshiping this beast. So I found other scriptures where the mark of the beast and worship is all tied together. Here's another one, Revelations 19 and 20. Revelations 19 and 20, it says, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that, here it is, worship the image. Right there, that scriptures, there's worship and taking the mark of the beast are together. So the devotion's there. They know who he is. They're literally worshiping him. And in fact, there's going to be some people that's going to refuse to take the mark of the beast. And that shows you that it's not a sneak thing. They're going to say, hey, this is the mark of the beast. I'm not taking that thing. Revelations 20 and verse 4. Revelations 20 and verse 4, it says, there are those that refuse to worship the beast, and they refuse to take the mark of the beast. Key word is they refuse. They knew, they were aware of what was going on. So worship and taking the mark of the beast are all connected together. The only ones that are going to be deceived are the ones that will be deceived by the beast's miracles and calling fire out of heaven. I mean, just think, if you were there and you saw this guy doing incredible miracles and fire coming out of heaven, he could pull fire out of heaven. That's going to deceive a lot of people, especially when 50 billion, or no, half the earth will probably be wiped out by then. There's been famines. The oceans are poisoned and people are starving to death, and they see this guy doing miracles. They're just going to fall on their face and start worshiping it, and they're going to want to take the mark of the beast. Let me give you the scripture on the deception. Write down Revelations 19 and 20. Revelations 19 and 20 shows you those are the people that's going to be deceived. So before we get to Revelations chapter 13, the mark of the beast chapter, at least 25% of the population will be killed. Really, it's going to be more like half the earth, half the population by the time you get to Revelation 13. Half the earth will probably be wiped out. That would be, if that happened right now, that would mean 4 billion people are wiped out. That's just, I mean, in that kind of landscape, you would know that's the mark of there's the Antichrist. And so The earthquakes are going to include heaven. It will be worldwide. And just to go over this, it will be a global ID. The Antichrist will be revealed. They will know who he is. And then you're going to see miracles and these fires and all coming out of the sky. All of this kind of stuff will happen. In fact, even the Bible tells us in another Bible study the personality of the Antichrist. We'll know, well, we won't be here, but the Bible will still be here on earth for the people left behind. They will know what kind of personality this guy has. So the book of Daniel really goes through that. Okay, here's the fourth thing. The fourth mark of the beast, it will be connected to a false prophet. So all of these things have to come together before there's going to be a mark. The mark of the beast comes out. It will be connected to a false prophet. And let me just break down a real short chapter, Revelations 13. There's two beasts that are in there. And these two beasts has to be on the scene before the mark of the beast even comes out. There's no such thing right now. We could relax. That ain't happening right now. So the first beast is going to be the Antichrist, and that's going to be Revelations 13, verse 1 through 10. The first 10 verses tells you the Antichrist is the first beast. But then after that, all the verses below that, it says that and another beast comes. And let me just tell you what the other beast is. He is the false prophet. He is the guy that's going to do the miracles. He's the one who's going to pull the religious world together. I hope I'm not going too fast. But he comes as, and verse 11 says, as a lamb. He's pretending to be the Messiah, but he's going to, behind that lamb there's some horns, it says. He is really a snake, and he counterfeits the miracles of God. And he's, for an example, God called fire down on Sodom and Gomorrah. Elijah called fire down on those false prophets. Now he's going to try to counter that, and he's going to start pulling fire down, and he's going to deceive people. Write down Revelations 13 and 13. Revelations 13 and 13. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven. And here it is. And deceiveth many by those miracles. So he's going to cause people to worship the beast. He's really promoting the beast. He's pulling the religious part together for him. And so kind of like John the Baptist did for Jesus. He's kind of the John the Baptist. And they will build an image for the Antichrist, and he will cause the image to talk. It's not alive, but it has the appearance of life. And these people will be willing, not accidentally, they will be willing to worship the Antichrist and take a mark. So you can see all these things has to happen before there's even a mark of the beast. And every time there's a tragedy all through history, you could see in the first century all the way to here, people go into panic mode, and they think we're getting ready to take the mark of the beast. But you could see all these things has to happen before we could even come close to taking the mark of the beast. And so the church doesn't have to live in fear. And I'm going to give you the fifth one and the last one, and then we'll open up for discussion. The mark of the beast is connected to the wrath of God. The mark of the beast is connected to the wrath of God. Write down 1 Thessalonians 1 and 10. 1 Thessalonians 1 and 10, it says, we, the church, us right here, the church, are not appointed to the wrath of God. Did you see that? We're not appointed to what's going to happen in the book of Revelations. Before he's going to rapture us out of here, and when he does, the tribulation starts. It's going to happen, and we're going to be upstairs. just like Noah, when God poured his wrath upon the earth and flooded it, he put the righteous on that ship, and they were above God's wrath. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah, God pulled Lot and his family, the righteous, out of Sodom and Gomorrah, and then his wrath came. Just like the Red Sea, God let his people get through that Red Sea, and then he poured his wrath on Pharaoh's army. Remember that? These are all types of the way God operates. Rahab in the Bible, God pulled her out before he poured his judgment on her because of her righteousness. So write down this scripture, and then we'll stop right here. 1 Corinthians 15 and 20. 1 Corinthians 15 and 20, it says that we are ambassadors. We are ambassadors. And you know, before the Iraq war, before we poured our wrath out on them and dropped bombs, we got all of our ambassadors out of there. Every time there's a war, we pull our ambassadors out of a country. Then our wrath comes down on that country. So in the same sense, that scripture right there, it says that we, the church, we are the ambassadors of God, and he will not pour his wrath on his own ambassadors. He'll rapture us out of there before